Okay, well, thank you. I think first, thank you for having me here, and thank you for arranging this catch-up as usual, Kelly. Of course, MC. Yes, my name is Jimmy Nagasaputra. So I've been in the data space for some time, working in a very different industry. I'm currently working with the hospital health school. And yeah, I would like to talk today about the challenges that I seen around my previous engagements with the clients, also with the current company. So I think like in specific, would like to talk about the developing the Power BI. As we know, the Power BI is like a data application. It does produces PBIX file, which is basically a zip file. Many of the JSON script or some is binary file. What we want to do in these instances to be able to source control it and deploy it in a more codey way, in a more DevOps way. So yeah, I'll try to walk through as at first. I got prepared a bit of a demo as well at the end. So I guess that the I observe this is like a handful of the challenges that we have on the market today. So the Power BI, or originally, to my understanding, is coming from the Excel, from the graphic engine. They're putting the beautiful visualization. Fast forward today is using as reporting tool, and what I've seen lately or recently that people are using the semantic model or data sets to store a lot of the data for a long period of time. So what it means that whenever we upload the brand new definitions of the Power BI set, it does override them, requiring us to do the full load of it. And also, like as what Raj earlier presented, there is more and more people are using one data set that is used by multiple people, which is something like a good pattern to have. But I guess that the importance of the data set not to be disturbed is becoming really important, because if you deploy, let's say, one today, during the deployment and the testing process, the data will become available. So yeah. And finally, is that in the spirit of working in a team. So if you have 5, 6 people in the same data set, you doing some changes. You would like to be able to track what the changes are, which is at the moment it's quite difficult to PBI as well. So this one is like basically solutions taken from the previous one. What we want is to be able to track the changes, minimum downtime, and also deployment life cycles. Now, there is a lot of attempt to solve the problems. Even the Power BI itself have the actual deployment pipeline at the workspace level. This one in specific, I'm talking about more for the data set itself, or what we call the semantic model. And one of the solutions that this is one of the many of the solution using the format which is newly released. Maybe new, maybe not here now. And it is using the TMDL format and still using the Power BI desktop to edit the actual file. But then it does uses the Tabular Editor's version 2 in the GitHub to deploy the changes to the Power BI service.
Jimmy, I think you need to hold the mic up higher. Getting feedback from the online.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Yeah, one of the key features here is that this particular TMDL format and the Tabular Editors requires the XMLA endpoint, which is only available in the Power BI Premium of February 54 Plus, and also in Azure Analytics Services. Again? Oh yeah. But the battery is bling. So just like a brief breakdown of TMDL. So TMDL is basically a tabular model definition language. Before the TMDL was there, Microsoft was using the TMSL, which is the tabular model scripting language. So that particular scripting has been available in the Power BI or PBIX file, but except it is compressed in binary format. Now with Microsoft releasing TMDL in the GA, maybe about August, October last year. But interestingly, the Power BI desktop features of TMDL, which is combining the Power BI project, which is the reports, and the TMDL are still in preview. It's quite interesting, but nevertheless, the TMDL as a format is already in GA in Microsoft. One of the goals of TMDL is a very, very human readable. TMSL is readable somehow, which I will show briefly what it looks like, but it is a bit hard to trace, in particular when you're going to the GitHub and compare differences. I'll try to find what the colleagues has done to the model. And Tabular Editors, again, this one is a third-party software done by Microsoft. It's been around for quite a while. They started for free version 2 active today, and I'm going to be using that for this particular CI/CD pipeline. In brief, version 3 requires licenses. You have to pay for it. It just basically do whatever the version does, except it comes with bell and whistles. For example, in the data set, you can select this refresh a particular table, or you can even, it has a built-in text analysis where you can tell the size of your table individually and stuff like that. Version 3 is definitely fine, but for these instances, because of Microsoft Power BI Desktop has been quite mature by design, it is quite an option to use Microsoft Power BI Desktop, edit the TMDL file, put it into the Git, and using the Tabular Editor solution to just the CI/CD pipeline. There is other tools that can do that as well, like PBI deploy, for example, but I haven't personally used it. Now, my company in specific has been using Editors because we originally come from Azure Analysis Services, or also kind of as background, so people not used to the desktop experience to begin with. Whatever you can do on that Power BI desktop, you can do it with Editors, except they got a bit of the refresh capability. Now, again, similar to TMDL deployment, this particular Editors requires XML point. Now, what I would like to do is like a quick demo about showing what the TMDL looks like and go from there. So first thing first, I have this particular like repository in my local drive. So I have this demo datasets PBIX file. So the PBIX file looks like normal, as you can see over there. Now, in the Power BI desktop, you can save the file as a PBIP, Power BI projects. When you save as PBIP file, you will realize that the size is no longer 31 kilobytes, but then it does break down the file to becoming looks like this. So it does have the project file, it's a single file there, which is metadata, and it does have the semantic model, which is the data itself. Now within this semantic model, there is this definitions of this. Now this content of the folder within that semantic layers is the TMDL format. You can see that it is an extension of TMDL back. And this is the human readable. So if I click it in Notepad++, it's just basically saying this is compatibility model of the test 1550. So if I look at the tables in here, which is a very simple data set, we'll be able to see the detail of the table. But in this particular example, it says like this is a table named Power BI steps, and this is the column, the type of the column, and so on and so forth. Finally, at the very bottom, it does have the M languages where it does pull the data from. In this particular cases, it pull data from the SQL Server. So that is what the TMDL model looks like. Now, in comparisons, what does the TMSL looks like? So I did prepare this earlier on. So I used the Tabular Editor version 2 to connect into my live connections, Power BI, and save it as a bin file, which is basically what the TMSL file looks like. So this is the equivalent content of the TMDL file in TMSL. Now, the difference is that in this particular file, every single object is in a single big JSON file, and you need to scroll down to find out the detail of it. While in this particular model, I don't have a lot of lines because this model only have one little table in here. Now, I guess that one is quite not user friendly, maybe. I'll just show you what it looks like in the Power BI service itself. The model that I have this demo dataset, which is just on its own. And for this demo purposes, I'm just having one table of Power BI sets, which is have the content of this table in there, or these columns in there. So I only have one table for this particular demo purposes. So what I would like to do in here is to demo and how do I do the changes. Before I go and do that, is there any question? So let me put my microphone down. So suppose that I would like to add additional table into this in these data sets. Make sure that I create a new branch. So I'm basically creating a new branch in my Git. And what I do now is I go and edit my Power BI file. I think here, just really wondering how many of you are using the Power BI Premium version of F64 Plus? Okay, cool. Okay, now I've opened this Power BI file. As you can see, I got nothing in here because this is not for the reporting purposes. This is only have one specific table. So what we do in here, we just modify the data set as per usual here. So what I will do, I just do a shortcut, just copy and paste from this table. I'll just pick a different database table from the database backend. Now the content of the table for this demo doesn't make sense to a lot of you. This is basically like a list of how we represent and the history when it's repressing. The data set is now refreshed locally in here, and Power BI did the auto relationship in here for me because based on the same naming convention as DB, this is correct in this instance. And all I do right now is to save this file. And once I save this file, at the background, it will create this list of objects in here. So the TMDL file got updated. It then, because it is now more than one table, it does create a new file called relationship. And it does shows the relationship from column and to column in here. Now, you do realize this in here, while I add the table of the Power BI datasets history in here, but it also added these three tables in here. Anyone would like to guess what it is? Yeah, some all those random table, it does create me mystery sometimes a long time ago. So I had one Excel file that I put it into the Power BI. It's like 5 kilobyte Excel file to the Power BI. Power BI size becoming like 5 megabyte. What happened at the back end of the Power BI? This is created for the time intelligence functions. So in the background, they will create the to and from date, and then they will create a table behind it. Now that takes spaces, and that is this particular naming convention that you see here. Now, if I don't like it, and you're not going to use the time intelligence functions in there, for example, we'll just have to switch it off by clicking the option setting here. Okay. Data log section, that is time intelligence. Just switch it off. Now, when I do that, yeah, but as a result, your depth of time intelligence will not work. You just need to use the minimum depth functionality. So you can see that disappeared from there. Now, I guess that while if you're comfortable with the coding perspective, you can appreciate that suddenly in here it changes. Hey, now I'm adding a table, no longer on one table, now two tables. The relationship things in coding, and also there is a list of a table that is perfectly human readable. It is still coding stuff. Nevertheless, it is better than before format. Just comment the code. By the way, I'm sitting on the Tinder tower using the desktop. So once I do that, I will see my new branch. The demo branch has just been pushed into my Git. What I will do, create a pull request, assuming that this is doing it. And I'm going to walk through in terms of the Git functionality, but what happened in theory is that you're not allowed to put it out. So you ask your peer, your managers, your friend, whoever to review your code changes. So the code review will come to this page, and then we will go into files and look at changes. And as you can see, it is quite clearly created what has been changed in this particular proposal changes. So in case you're getting the relationship, you can come from here and so on and so forth. Now, so let's say that the reviewer is happy with this, and this is a go to the domain branch. You then click merge merge, which means that your code now is in the main repository. Now, I did not set this up to automatically push, but what I will show is what we can do in the GitHub actions. We can trigger the automatic script that after the certain branch is being merged. But in this case, I did not set this up. What I do in here is just on this manual. Now, what is YAML file in here? Just walk you through quickly. So what I've done in here, I'm using Tabular Editor 2.5. So first thing first, I will install this into this machine. And by the way, this machine is running on the Windows versions of machine. So in lot of the corporate, you would run this particular actions on your local VM. In this case, for this demo, it's a public VM, which means that I need to download the editors that is installed. Once it is installed in here, this is basically just unzipping it. This is the sections thing. And I make this talk over simplified because in reality, you will do a lot more than this. In these particular cases, what I've done, just going to get code from that definitions folders, which is basically the TMDL file. I will upload it into my Power BI called the ZS workspace, and I'll push in my credentials from into that. And that's all it does. Now, by the way, it does give the secret password is in the password in this particular case. Yeah, just look at this anyway. It'll take about a minute for us. But we'll tell you that. This one is just like basically the list of the file. That's the second of it. Looks like it says done. So if I go back into the Power BI surface system here, you'll reflect this page. On the right side here, you will see the new table that was in there beforehand. So while you say like, hey, this is just being a table, and click upload menu into the desktop. So what's the point of doing this here? So again, that it's coming back to the point of collaboration, the code accessibility, and also there is a benefit of doing this. We don't have time to do that, but what I showed earlier is that this data, if I get overwritten, whatever data I have in these data sets beforehand will remain intact. Now, obviously, the brand new table come from the bottom is not yet refreshed, and therefore it will come as blank. So it is something in there. But at the same time, I can just simply do the request. Now that is where I said about oversimplifications of the particular request itself. Once you do this, let's say your data set is really big, like 9 gig data sets. If you don't want to refresh everything, you can use the enhanced API, which is the refresh request to handle a certain table that's impacted on this process. I think that's all my demo and explanation of TMDL. Now I think like this is a very new area. Expect this to grow rapidly. But in the meanwhile, for those who are interested in doing this city code DevOps practice for the dataset deployment, there is a pathway to do so.
Anyone have any questions? Here's a question.
Sure.
After the deployment, what things we can apply here, or it's only local or
when you see the YAML file in here, you can, this YAML file is basically it's like a Linux box. You can ask it to run a lot of different functionality. Now, what I've done in here, I cut down this version from the one that we use because the company. But what you can do notices in here that this is a Python script there. So technically, it's quite your limit in the sense of what you can do with the Power BI API. So let's say you would like to change the connection, potential, the parameters, or even the refresh post the release. You can all do that by coding it and using the Power BI.
Inside the Tableau, inside the Power BI.
That is correct. It will be done all here in GitHub as a scripting, as a deployment script.
So with the Tabular Editor,
Yep.
there's a version 2 and version 3. So would you know what's the difference between the features apart from licensing? Apart from licensing,
Well, it's apart from licensing, is that Tabular Editor 3 is designed for a one-stop shop. So when you're using Tabular Editor 2, it's not standalone tools. You need to use that. And let's say you make changes in your Tabular Editor 2. Let's say you create a new column, new metrics, new measures. You cannot run it on the E2. So you need to then upload it somewhere, which is in your dev environment, refresh the data set, or partially or whatnot, and then you can execute that. But with the Tabular Editor 3, you can connect directly to it and you can query it straight away. That is one of the benefits. The second benefit is that a lot of time people using SSMS, SQL Settlement Studio, to connect to the analysis services, and then you can say, "Oh, just upload this model, and practically update the people formula." And that was available with free. Apart from that, there is also text analyzers that is built in. Oh, one more thing I forgot to show earlier is that how does this particular works, right? The benefit of having this Power BI desktop, just now you can see that this is the local file. There is data stream there. But then does it mean that the data is uploaded to my message string? The answer is no, because we don't want that, because some of the data can be locked in size. But at the same time, you still can work it in the local. So when it works, if you look at this semantic model here, all we know now the definition system file, .api file in here that content case.abf. This is actually where the actual data is stored on this text. So, and this is ignored the moment I upload to the repository, so the data will not go into the GitHub. We don't want it. So just, yeah.
Anything else?
JD?
How do you resolve merge conflicts in Git?
Oh,
Urge
wow.
conflict. Come back for another
Happy to
session.
type at another
No.
session.
Yeah, it's other sessions, or the easiest one, don't let them put the same file together. But yeah, but it is a very good point, because let's say in the Power BI development, so let's say I work on the same file as my friend Joy did, and then I updated the table in here. So hypothetically, I changed the data type of this 2 minutes entry in there. But I changed it to different value and got it different value. With this particular code, will show conflict and changing something that other people are changing as well. And at least it will then give an opportunity for the one to do the merge, or the last to do the merge, to say like, hey, there's a conflict, we need to resolve it either by canceling your data changes or things or whatsoever.
Just write a script that says, ignore it, enjoy these guys.
There were some announcements at FabCon about how it's getting easier and easier for you to compare two versions of the single file next to each other. So although it won't strictly merge them, you can look at where things have been changed in that view, in that kind of code, that textual representation of your data model. Won't work on the report level in the visuals, but it will work on the data model.